This is not an speculation, it's a project of Laboratorio Performance Artist Collective, whose members are Isabel, Tobón, and me, Juan Camilo, Londoño. In the southern summer of 2024 to 25, I undertook an artistic residency in Antarctica, on King George Island, as part of the Colombian Project of Art in Antarctica, in collaboration with the Colombian Antarctic program. Our purpose was to use performance art as a means to interrogate about what exists in this continent, what does not exist, and what could cease to exist in the future through 18 poetic and political actions that employ absurdity, literalization, irony, speculative fiction, among other gestures. To do so, one of the things we focused on is how this territory of fragile and endangered ecosystems has been shaped through decades and even centuries of coloniality of nature and hierarchies of the human over the more than human, mostly inherited from Western thought. One of the actions, for example, was inspired by the name of an Antarctic seal. In the 19th century, British navigator James Weddell traveled to the South Shetland Islands to hunt seals. On his 1822 expedition, this is around 2 years after the discovery of Antarctica, he found and documented a new species of seal, which was named the Weddell seal in his honor. So the action we performed was to symbolically change the name of the seal. To do this, we replicated on a small scale the decision-making mechanism used in the Antarctic Treaty System, which is consensus voting, in collaboration with some people who were conducting research on King George Island. The chosen name was Chehe, an Aymara term that refers to a mottled gray, like the intertwined shades that characterize the seal's fur. Silvia Rivera Cusicanqui uses this concept to critique homogenizing notions of mestizaje, since Chehe points to the possibility of containing multiple forms of existence which do not necessarily require internal coherence or homogeneity. That mottled color of gray, whites, and blacks contains within itself all animals and all worlds. Another example is an action that addresses the affective and gender dimensions of present global warming and climate change. The girl in this image is Eunice Newton Foote. She was a 19th century American scientist and amateur scientist who was the first person to discover what we now call the greenhouse effect, which is that certain gases such as CO2 and water vapor can absorb heat. And for the first time, she formulated a hypothesis that changing amounts of these gases in the atmosphere could alter climate. However, because of the gendered and cultural logics of her context, her ideas were received with indifference. So the action was to teach a class to a block of ice about Eunice Newton Foote and how her contributions were taken with coldness and indifference. Global warming can be thought of as an affective phenomenon linked to affects like greed or indifference. In this performance, we sought to explore indifference as a political emotion. Antarctica is not disconnected from the affective dynamics and power relations elsewhere. Colombia, for instance, is the country with the highest rate of murder environmental social leaders in the world. We believe this is connected directly or indirectly to what happens in Antarctica. In a context of extractivism and uneven relations between global north and south, we need more perspectives from the south to rethink Antarctica. We believe in Colombian and Latin Americans' art potential to problematize simplistic assumptions about Antarctica that represent it as a blank, separated, and empty space, a kind of a neutral peace and science sanctuary away from capitalism, colonialism and coloniality, and patriarchy. With this project, we hope to contribute to reimagine it differently and, more importantly, to make people feel a closer connection to Antarctica.